You didn't stumble here by mistake. You were summoned. Something deep inside you, maybe something you've been ignoring, has been pulling you toward this exact moment. And now that you're here, let's make something clear. You are not like the rest. You feel more, sense more, see through what others blindly follow. That's not a flaw. It's your confirmation. You've been marked for more, and this is the message your spirit has been waiting to receive. Look around. Really look. The world is shifting faster than most can comprehend. But you feel the tremble beneath the surface. You've been waking up, questioning things others fear to even think about. You've outgrown the noise, the fake smiles, the small talk. And why? Because your soul remembers something deeper, something ancient, something powerful. You're not meant to just exist. You're here to lead, to break patterns, and to rise like only the truly chosen can. This isn't just another motivational speech. This is a call, a divine summons. And if you're feeling the fire rise in your chest, if your heart's beating like it knows something big is coming, it's because you're not just listening. You're remembering. This is your activation. So lean in. Turn up the volume. Stay with me till the end. Because what's about to unfold is not for the faint-hearted. It's for those who know they were born to shift the atmosphere. You are one of them. Let's rise. Don't just watch, be part of the movement. Hit subscribe and step into your purpose. Your journey starts now. The unraveling did not announce itself with spectacle or signs. It emerged gradually, like a dissonant note in a song once familiar. Everyday comforts began to feel out of place, not in any dramatic way, but with a quiet tension that settled in the chest. Laughter no longer rang true. The places that once gave shelter began to echo with absence. Nothing around had changed visibly, yet everything felt newly misaligned, as if the internal compass had silently shifted course. What once fit like a second skin now clung awkwardly, begging to be shed. If you feel the abundance of divine love filling your heart, now is the perfect time to share it. By clicking the super thank you button on YouTube and contributing $100 or more, you can help spread God's blessings far and wide. Your offering will not only touch your own life, but also reach countless souls through this platform. Each of you holds a sacred place in God's magnificent plan, and your generosity will be the answer to many prayers. Take action now. Share your blessings to honor His kingdom, for you were created to accomplish even greater works through His loving hands. May God's grace be with you. This wasn't despair. It wasn't misdirection. It was a reorientation of essence, a recalibration of the inner lens. The change didn't erupt, it whispered. Gradually, preferences morphed, old rhythms grew intolerable, and the desire to belong was eclipsed by the craving to be real. Familiar faces lost their shine, once meaningful words rang hollow, and the script once performed effortlessly felt foreign on the tongue. The transformation didn't come from outside events. It started with an internal shedding that could no longer be postponed. Guilt often lingered at the edges, the echo of a voice asking, "Why can't things stay the same?" But nothing was malfunctioning. Everything was refining. The unraveling was not the end, but a sacred, refining fire, incinerating false attachments to make space for alignment. What seemed like disconnection was, in truth, the spirit rejecting false nourishment. What felt like abandonment was sacred redirection. This wasn't a collapse, it was emergence, a quiet exile from illusions wrapped in the appearance of familiarity. The process churned beneath the surface, invisible but potent. It brought forth moments of unexplained tears, silences that begged for depth, and resistance from the mind clinging to its known identity. But beneath that turbulence, something ancient was assembling itself, cleaner, stronger, and closer to origin. There was no instant clarity, only the slow strengthening of what had always been buried beneath the noise. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. The cravings grew sharper, not for validation, but for sincerity, not for noise, but for quiet truth. The mind began to filter out the scripted and forced, rejecting all that no longer vibrated at the new resonance. It may have felt isolating, but it was never solitary. Many move through this threshold in silence, too unsure to speak of what they sense. But those called cannot remain still. The summons is louder than comfort, deeper than fear. It insists on movement. And once that inner light is activated, no curtain of illusion can obscure it. Resistance may rise, but it cannot reclaim what has awakened. This is not about breaking from the world. It is about breaking from distortion. The return to origin is not a descent. It's a rising. And once one begins to ascend, no shadow can drag the soul back into forgetting. The path is unfolding, not away from life, but toward its truest frequency. This is the genesis of remembrance. Not everyone is crafted to dissolve into the background. Some carry a different rhythm in their bones, one that refuses to blend, no matter how many masks are worn or how well the script is memorized. Attempts to imitate the usual cadence only amplify the dissonance. That hum beneath the surface, the one that disrupts comfort and questions belonging, doesn't fade with silence. It grows. What began as a faint murmur transforms into a force impossible to mute. As soon as the inner signal is acknowledged, the fabric of everything once accepted begins to loosen. Pretending becomes unbearable. Camouflage no longer holds. The identity that once passed inspection fractures under the weight of unspoken truth. There comes a point where allegiance to the self can no longer be postponed. And that decision, to stand fully in one's essence, disrupts the illusion. It costs, but it also liberates. Internal reorientation precedes external shift. Spaces once cherished begin to echo with unfamiliarity. Patterns long repeated unravel like threadbare cloth. Some ties fray without conflict. Others snap under pressure. The divergence isn't personal, though it feels deeply so. It is the inevitable response to living honestly in a world conditioned to avoid depth. Those who haven't yet turned inward often recoil at the reflection a bold soul offers them. Yet resistance is not rejection of you. It is discomfort with themselves. And learning to face that recoil without bitterness becomes part of the refinement. Isolation isn't punishment, it's invitation. An invitation to explore stillness, to learn the dimensions of one's own resonance without distortion. Recognition from others may diminish, but the clarity within expands. Loneliness sharpens vision. Solitude deepens roots. This path never promised to be lined with applause. It asked only for truth. And those who honor that ask begin to attract new constellations of connection, not out of convenience or familiarity, but out of mutual recognition. The language changes, the standards rise, the circle tightens, but those who remain are sacred mirrors, not temporary echoes. The shedding of past roles allows the emergence of unshakable presence. No longer tethered to outer validation, the journey becomes not about being understood, but about being whole. There's nothing to chase, only something to become. The ground is uneven, but every step forward is deliberate. The cost is undeniable, but so is the clarity it brings. No path walked, in truth, is ever truly alone. The unseen aligns with those who dare to rise differently. And in time, the weight carried becomes the very evidence of becoming. The sacred proof that choosing the uncommon road wasn't a mistake, but a homecoming. What you carry unsettles what hides, not because it's loud, but because it's real. The air has thickened, quietly, steadily. Deception doesn't storm in wearing a mask. It drips slowly through the cracks of distraction. The distortion has become ambient, embedded in the rhythm of ordinary days. You sense it in the way truth is no longer welcomed, how substance is replaced by spectacle, and how authenticity feels like rebellion. What undermines clarity now isn't always a threat with teeth. It's the soft erosion of purpose through busyness, the clever entanglement of worth with approval, the lure of comfort dressed as success. What opposes you doesn't always show its face. It doesn't have to. It only needs to tangle your focus, sap your energy, and keep you circling long enough to forget you were born to ascend. The aim is not to crush, it's to distract until you surrender your fire voluntarily. But what cannot be stolen is the pulse within. The signal is still active. The resonance you hold was never designed to bow. The fact that you are present in this era is not coincidence. It is response. The force trying to derail you only proves your direction is sacred. The noise will rise, the distractions will multiply, but the core of your calling remains untouchable. No counterfeit current can rewrite what was encoded in you before time recognized your name. The moment you begin to see through the distortion, the terrain changes. You stop bending to systems built to dim. You stop negotiating with spaces that ask for your silence. The world may spiral, but your role is to steady, not to mimic the panic, but to anchor presence. What shakes others sharpens you. What weakens many awakens what lies dormant in you. The misalignment of the world does not disqualify your light. It reveals why it's needed. There's nothing accidental about your timing. You were designed for this tension. In a moment where confusion feels like the norm, you carry the unseen blueprint of clarity. And it's not always in what you say, it's in what you refuse to abandon. The posture you hold, the stillness you maintain, the consistency in the unseen moments. That's where resistance becomes revolution. You don't force change, you embody it. Attempts to dismantle your path weren't missteps, they were sharpening stones. The weight you've carried has built endurance. The losses, the delays, the moments that almost broke you, they tempered you into someone who now walks with quiet gravity. And as you rise, the ripple is inevitable. Your decision becomes permission. Your presence becomes instruction. Your survival becomes testimony. So when silence surrounds, keep moving. When the applause fades, stay aligned. What you're building may go unseen by the crowd, but it is witnessed by eternity. Every step in truth reshapes what follows. And when resistance tells you to fall back, stand deeper, not out of defiance, but from remembrance. Let every part of your life whisper what the noise tries to bury. Distortion doesn't win. The original frequency always returns. Dear brothers and sisters, may the peace of God fill your hearts today. I come to remind you of a profound truth. Our lives are firmly established in God's divine purpose, untouched by the fleeting worries of this world. As Scripture tells us, give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. Luke 6:38. Like the mighty oak whose roots are planted deep in rich soil, our foundation is anchored in God's eternal truth. Every move we make, every stand we take, is upheld by His enduring strength. Today, you have the opportunity to participate in this divine blessing. By clicking the Super Thank You button and offering a gift of $50, you will sow into a harvest that will return to you many times over in God's abundant grace. Some carry within them a silent knowing, a sense that every moment is a thread in a much larger design. Not a single interaction is without weight. Each encounter, thought, or action tilts the balance inwardly, even when the world appears still. While many scan the horizon for signs of conflict, the most pivotal shifts occur beneath the surface, in the unseen choices made when no one is watching. Every breath is a crossroad. Even the smallest decision either amplifies alignment or steers away from it. The inner compass doesn't shout, it pulses. And in that pulse is a question. Will you reinforce what is hollow, or will you reinforce what is whole? Every reaction becomes architecture, a brick laid either in the service of growth or the maintenance of illusion. There is no more room for drifting. What once passed as harmless neutrality now carries weight. The current has changed. The stakes are different. Passive rhythms have become liabilities, and numbness, a quiet surrender. This isn't a summons to panic. It's a call to presence. The field is no longer theoretical. It is real, and it lives in the pause between stimulus and choice. Instinct isn't there by accident. The deep nudges, the signals of unease, the sparks of resistance, they are not glitches. They are guidance. They are the internal instruments built for navigation through fog. But they only sharpen when listened to. Tuning them out for comfort is costly. Ignoring them for the sake of harmony only postpones the confrontation truth demands. There is no peace without clarity. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. The capacity to choose is a sacred inheritance, entrusted not because it is simple, but because it is transformative. Every time integrity is chosen over impulse, something shifts. A path becomes visible. A barrier dissolves. A seed is planted that will bear fruit far beyond its moment. This is how the unseen becomes legacy. This is how a ripple becomes a tide. The significance of your decisions cannot be overstated. What feels small is never truly small. A quiet act of restraint can reroute an entire line. A moment of truth can close a generational wound. A private refusal to abandon your values becomes a foundation someone else will stand on. Choice is not about self alone. It's about everything tethered to your name, spoken and unspoken. The aim is not flawlessness, it is intentionality. It is showing up, awake, and owning the force of your presence, even in fatigue, even in uncertainty, especially in those places. Because power doesn't always wear grandeur. Sometimes it walks into the room as a whisper that says, "Not this time." And with that whisper, new timelines unfold. Every deliberate choice adds contour to your becoming. What you allow, what you release, what you stand for, it's all creation. It's all design. The shape of the future is drawn in those moments, not with grand gestures, but with unwavering precision. What you do now will echo longer than you can imagine. And the beauty is, it's still yours to shape. Some grow strongest in places no one dares to look. When everything fell quiet and the echo of your own thoughts grew louder than the outside world, it felt like exile. The warmth of familiar company faded. The rhythm of daily connections slowed, and you found yourself standing at the edge of something vast and unclear. The silence was not peaceful. It pressed against your chest. You wondered if you'd been cast aside, left to drift, while the rest of the world continued without you. But the solitude that seemed like a sentence was actually sacred strategy. You weren't discarded. You were pulled inward, away from the surface noise, and into a deeper chamber of becoming. All the excess, distractions, attachments, the comforting lies were quietly dismantled, not to punish, but to create space for truth. What was stripped away wasn't yours to carry forward. The unraveling was precision work, guided by unseen hands. It was more than losing company. It was a full-body detachment from outdated versions of self. The silence wasn't empty. It was filled with renovation. The foundations you once stood on had to be reformed. Outdated identities had to be questioned. Quietly, invisibly, you were being sculpted into something durable. Layer by layer, illusions fell, and in their place rose a self that no longer needed permission to stand firm. The ache of isolation was real. The longing for familiar comfort tugged often. But over time, something shifted. You learned to find rhythm in the stillness, not as an escape, but as a grounding. No longer dependent on echo chambers or borrowed strength, your roots sank deeper. What once felt like void became clarity. You no longer feared the silence. You became fluent in it. From that space, the scaffolding of resilience began to emerge. You stopped scanning for validation. The compass turned inward. Your choices stopped hinging on approval and began aligning with integrity. The opinions that once shook you now pass like wind through branches that no longer break. You know who you are, not because someone told you, but because you met yourself in the absence of noise. Those battles, fought in secret, forged an inner solidity that cannot be faked. You carry it now, etched into your posture, echoing in your voice, humming beneath every decision. That season in the shadows was not a detour, it was design. Now you walk differently, not louder, but deeper. You no longer look for doorways to enter. You've become the threshold. The trials didn't disappear, they evolved. But your response is no longer reaction, it's authority. The tactics that once caught you off guard now pass through you untouched. The strength that was tempered in stillness does not announce itself, but it shifts everything it touches. You are not emerging because the world is ready for you. You are rising because you are finally ready for it. The story written in silence now becomes the power you carry into every space. You are no longer an echo, you are origin, and what was once unseen will now become undeniable. Not because you seek spotlight, but because the light within you is too steady to go unnoticed. This is no longer survival, this is revelation. Some are forged to stand at the fault lines of worlds colliding. The dissonance that once whispered at the edges now crackles in plain sight. The invisible tension has stepped into form, taking shape in strained words, unexpected silences, and the unease behind familiar eyes. Even the spaces once safe now hum with an unfamiliar pressure, an undercurrent of resistance pushing against anything anchored in truth. This is not random. What you're sensing is not confusion. It's confirmation. The underlayers of reality are shifting, and what once hid behind politeness or illusion can no longer mask its intent. What used to be subtle dissonance has erupted into open friction. You are not witnessing a breakdown. You are standing inside a crossing, and those bound to fear or illusion will often shrink from what you now carry without understanding why. The pushback isn't personal, though it strikes where it hurts. The rejection isn't rooted in you. It's a recoil from the frequency you now emit. The very atmosphere around you responds differently. And though you may long for the ease of before, you know deep down that ease was never meant to last. The terrain has changed, and the conflict is no longer theoretical. This is a deeper game. What plays out in words and actions is just the surface. The true war is being waged through alignment, through what you permit, what you protect, and what you choose to become. The pressure you feel is not about the moment. It's about what you represent. There are forces that thrive in inertia, and your movement threatens them. You are not battling individuals. You are confronting the systems that move through them. You're being baited by chaos, not to destroy you, but to distract you. Distraction is the oldest tactic in the arsenal of resistance. Lure the strong away from their focus, and their fire dims on its own. But you know better now. You've seen how clarity slips when attention scatters. You've learned that your energy is sacred, and that peace is not passive, it's armor. The patterns that once held you captive are trying to call you home again, cloaked in nostalgia, guilt, or comfort. But you've outgrown those disguises. The habits that once defined you no longer fit the frame of who you've become. The cost of return is too steep, and the ground you've claimed is too hard won to abandon. You didn't come this far to repeat the first chapter. Every day you remain rooted, you undermine the machinery of everything built on fear. And what radiates from you now is not just light, it's disruption. Your stability unsettles, your clarity convicts. But don't silence yourself to soothe others' discomfort. This isn't about dominance, it's about reclamation. You are reclaiming a frequency that was forgotten, a power that was buried beneath generations of survival. This isn't just for you. Your transformation sends ripples into places you may never touch with your hands, but will shift through your presence alone. Your endurance is legacy in motion. Each decision made in truth severs chains that have held families, cultures, and timelines hostage. The story you're writing doesn't end with you. It opens doors for those still trapped behind walls they didn't build. Don't be thrown by the tension. Don't misread the silence as failure or the resistance as warning. What fights you now does so because you've stepped into your authority. And what awaits on the other side of this clash isn't survival, it's sovereignty. Keep your footing. The ground may shake, but it will not swallow you. You are here to advance the unseen, to carry light where it's been silenced, and to stand in your knowing when the noise rises. Let the storm rise. You are the still point at its center. Now is the moment to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. With a donation of $100 or more, you can actively participate in His divine mission and contribute to His greater plan. Every offering you make reflects the boundless generosity of God, and I trust it will return to you abundantly, far exceeding your hopes. Always remember His protection and blessing accompany your every step and every act of giving. You are a vital part of His sacred design. You are strong and radiant, steadfast like His mighty rock. Experience God's miracles. Feel the rewards of your generosity deep within your soul, and shine your light with boldness and faith. May you be richly blessed, and may the light of the Lord continually guide your journey. There are those who carry the imprint of something larger than circumstance, individuals born with a resonance that doesn't fade even when buried beneath struggle. This isn't the season of silence. This is the hour when everything you've endured sharpens into clarity. You didn't climb through storms just to retreat. You didn't weather the quiet breaking of your former self to now question your worth. You were never meant to disappear. You were shaped to emerge. You are a turning point in someone's story, even in your quieter moments. Your presence transmits direction. Even when your path feels dim, you are still a marker of possibility. The weight you've carried becomes the proof others need to believe change is possible. That alone is revolutionary. What once made you feel out of place is now the very trait that shifts atmospheres. You were born to break open what others only dared to question. Now is not the time to retreat into comfort. Now is the time to hold your ground with truth that does not waver. The systems around you may try to flatten your voice, question your intensity, label your presence as too much, but this moment was always waiting for someone who wouldn't shrink. Let what you carry confront the structures that keep others small. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Walk like the one who has been through the fire and returned with vision. Walk like one whose footsteps echo beyond their own lifetime. The recognition you seek won't always come from the eyes around you, but the unseen celebrates your every step. Your rise is being recorded not in headlines, but in unseen registers that know exactly who you are and why you're here. This isn't just a shift in season, it's a threshold into purpose. You are not being separated for punishment, but for positioning. The shedding of old identities wasn't loss, it was alignment. And now, as the dust of doubt settles, clarity calls your name.